Sup y'all, something a little more vulnerable for a change. Trying to be as open as I can be without canceling myself. Just kidding, of course. But to be honest, as of right now, I'm single. Very single. I've had relationships before and some ended good and others ended pretty well too. Mainly because I've always done what's best for me and the girl I was with at that time. I consider them, but I also have to consider myself too. And at the end of the hour, if it doesn't line up, then it's best to end it, just to spare us the unwanted stresses or pain. Also because I am trying to trust Jesus and not my horoscope in all things, and who I want to spend the rest of my life with is on that list. But one time in particular ended in a very unexpected way. I wouldn't necessarily say it ended bad, just different than what I was used to. But I do believe it happened for a reason, including in why I'm making this video. Another reason I think it occurred, honestly, is for the benefit of she and I respectively. I mean, I tell myself that, but I know deep down Jesus Christ had to teach me a lesson. And it humbled me greatly. I mean, it's been a few years already, and I was a lot younger and a little more naive and self-centered too back then, but I feel comfortable talking about it. And the reason I don't mind sharing it at this point is mainly because I believe it could help somebody out. And so to take it from the top, I was always a good kid, and I always tried to be adamant about telling the truth to somebody, including in communicating your emotions about someone that you're interested in. And most of my friends can vouch for me because I always tell them the same thing. If you like somebody, tell them, because you'll always have the no if you say nothing. And so, I liked this girl. Quite a lot, actually. I didn't see her often outside of where she and I would routinely meet up. In fact, I can count on my hands the number of times she and I actually went out in the years that I've known her. But either way, I was spending a lot of time with her when and where we did actually routinely meet up. And it got to a point where I was so focused on my goals, but I still wanted to be with her. And so I changed my focus in that I told myself, maybe she can help me. Maybe she and I can have something special. Maybe our mutual interest in God and life can become one. I mean, we were very close friends and many people around us already thought she and I were dating. But yeah, we used to call each other on our cell phones. Late nights when we talked about God. We were homies, being good people, always in the zone. We prayed together, we laughed together, we accepted our differences. But eventually, as my feelings grew, she got me down and she got me stressed out. All while she was running out of pages in her passport. I don't usually cringe at my jokes, but I'll stop. But in all seriousness, I was becoming more unsure about how I felt and my emotions and what I thought God wanted from me or her or these feelings I had. And so I was provided a mentor, and he did the best God allowed him to do, and I am forever indebted to him because the wisdom I learned and the patience he had with me is unexplainable. Granted, I did not grow up with a father, so listening to an older man about God, life, and wisdom wasn't really my strong suit. But I learned. Boy, did I learn. Either way, I did my best to apply the wisdom I received from him, or to the extent that my young mind could comprehend it. And eventually, I told this girl how I felt, and she did not feel the same way. But at the same time, looking back at it, she was going through many transitions in her life, to which I didn't really pay attention to because I know deep down she was just trying to do the right thing in her life. And possibly I could have been a serious distraction, but I just wanted to be there for her to let her know she's not alone. But it doesn't matter because she was not feeling the same way. And yeah, we remained cool as friends, but it's a painful thing to be so close yet so far. And so I tried to holler at her again. And so before I get into that, a quick story that happened a long time ago. One day we went out with a group of friends to go eat and she ordered the frog legs. Now, right off the bat, let me tell you something about myself. And it's that I strongly dislike real frogs with a real intimate sense of fear and passion. Like, yo, if I see a real frogs, I get goosebumps and I get all tense and I feel like I want to throw up, like, ugh. But either way, she got them. And for some foolish reason, I still wanted to impress her. And so I eat one. Oh, never again. I had nightmares. I never told her, of course. But as the Bible says, my son, do not give all your strength to a woman. But that's just a funny story that I wanted to share that I'll never forget. And so either way, I try to ask her out again. This time with a different approach by first apologizing to her for how she may have felt targeted by me, because she knew I still liked her and that if she wanted a relationship with this guy, that the door is right there. Meanwhile, I'm waiting there like... And I know it may seem sweet or cute or funny or romantic or kind of sad, honestly, but you have to understand at that time, I was obnoxiously infatuated by this girl because I had envisioned what she and I could become if she just reached her spiritual potential to my standards. And that's where I went wrong, folks. I had an expectation of what I wanted from her. In that, the question remains with how I see things now. If we got together back then and she never reached that spiritual potential, would I still like her? Nope. But like I mentioned, I didn't think back then as I do now about those things. And so clearly I wasn't getting the message that she wasn't feeling me. Because when I tried again, she was the nicest she can be in letting me know that she was not interested, and that in honor of our past friendships and how she and I were there for each other at certain times, we could still be friends. And so I got the message. And it wasn't until afterwards that she doesn't deserve who I was back then. She deserved for her choice to be respected. And so no means no. And so some time went by and I had stopped texting her, and we legit stopped all communication. And she went on with her circle of friends and I went on with my life. And I only saw or spoke to her whenever she and I would routinely meet up, and that was like once or twice a week. And even then, it wasn't like intense dialogue. It was more like quick highs and byes and how are you type of stuff, you know, nothing important, simply mundane. But it felt humiliating because deep down, I was still waiting for her. I neglected the fact that perhaps the time and attention I wanted to give to her, I could have given to somebody else. And more importantly, I could have given it to my relationship with God. But I had to stop thinking about her and stop stalking her on social media in fear that soon enough, one day she'll post a picture with a guy in the place that I wanted to be. And so for my overall health and healing, I unfollowed, unfriended, and deleted her from all social media. And through time and tears, my heart was humbled. But either way, as time went by, I maintained my distance to the best that I could with respect to what she asked. But in doing that, I had stopped being her friend, because eventually we had both moved on from each other and had become different people. And I learned more about how I should behave and how God is going to use me. And so I had gone on to have different relationships and different kinds of adventures with my friends and family and loved ones. And I had no idea what she was up to, nor could I dwell on it. And later on, as the years went by, we did add each other back on social media, but this time just as people who used to know each other. And in spite of all of this, I tried to convince myself that maybe she and I did not work out because she was too much of an introvert who was too afraid to confront her real feelings. Or the other real possibility, that perhaps I did push her away with my behavior, and she may have never genuinely been romantically into me. And so, either way, I realized that it ended very interestingly because it just stopped. And I felt like I left that moment without any real closure or reconciliation or making amends or no indemnification, at least to the extent of what I was used to whenever I was put in that situation. And that's what I learned from that humiliating moment in my life. And it's that God is very clear that you cannot always get what you want, how you want it, or even when you want it. But I tell this honest story not just for me, but for you, the viewer, in that I'm a living testimony that God knows exactly what's going on in your life and what troubles you may have, relationship or not, and that really anything involving growth is mainly about how humiliation can come from stubbornness. And it just so happens that my path to that revelation was romance, but maybe yours is something else. Either way, if there's one thing I want you to get from this video, it's that moving on isn't necessarily about moving on from the person, rather it's moving on from those feelings you had at that moment. You move on without ever being angry at the person, yourself, or even God. You learn to embrace what happened without putting shame or blame on anyone, including yourself. Because the reality is anybody can come back into your life or be given a second chance under the proper circumstances. And so in that, I learned that truth does not destroy relationships, it exposes them. And whether for good or bad, life is a constant learning process. And forgiveness can play a significant role in second chances and in moving on by first forgiving yourself too. And I'll say it again. Moving on isn't necessarily about moving on from the person, rather it's moving on from those feelings you had at that moment. Okay, I finished. Okay. Alrighty gang, thank you all for watching. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with me, and I appreciate that. I really hope this offered some insight or was helpful to you in any way, shape, or form, and feel free to share it with a friend. Okay, that's pretty much it. Let's keep each other in prayer, and as always, stay blessed.